What is up, guys? Welcome to a Straight Edge Wrestling breaking news podcast. We are hot on the heels of the All Elite Wrestling press conference. Lots of news, lots of breaking news that have come out of this press conference. If you haven't given it a watch yet, I implore you to head on over to beingtheelite.com or over to Twitter or head on over to straightedgewrestling.com and fill yourself in because it really was a lot to take in with a huge implications for the future of professional wrestling. The first time in over nearly 2 decades, well, over 2 decades, that another billionaire is entering the frame of professional wrestling and giving it his all. So we kicked off the show and we saw the announcement of Double or Nothing, which is All In 2, the very first event being held under the All Elite Wrestling banner. So Double or Nothing, which we knew was coming. It was announced on January 1st anyway. So we knew it was coming, but they've announced that it's going to be held in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand Garden Arena on May 25th of this year. It had been thrown around that perhaps it would be held at the T-Mobile Arena, but MGM, I think, is a much better venue for it to be held at. T-Mobile is a big venue, but MGM has a lot of prestige behind it. I mean, everybody knows what the MGM is, and it's not that far away. So I see lots of people predicting like late summer, but they're often running before summer, shortly after WrestleMania. So hot on the heels of WrestleMania, just about 6 weeks after Mania finishes. So they're getting moving pretty quickly. It's not that long away. We don't know anything else about it yet. We know that several stars are going to be appearing. So we started off with Cody coming down and saying how thrilled he was about the event, about the AEW, about the formation of AEW, and about how at the end of All In last year, he stood in the middle of a ring with all his friends and just thought, wow, basically, wow, and he didn't think he'd top it, and here he is. He mentioned something really interesting, which was he said that he was going to try and level the economy of wrestling. So the wrestling economy, as he says, wrestlers don't get paid enough for what they are worth in the realm of sports and entertainment. They drive huge figures, and yet they don't seem to be given the same pay packet as someone in traditional sports media, football, whatever, basketball, which drives the same amount of engagement, same amount of social media engagement, worldly engagement, and drives the needle just as well. They don't seem to get their just desserts. And he said he's going to be changing all of that, and there's going to be a whole new wrestling economy, fair pay for the wrestlers, and he was then joined by his fellow elite brethren, the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. There was a lot of fireworks. I mean, you can see in this picture here, there was a hell of a lot of fireworks, a lot of fanfare. The production of it was pretty good, actually. I was surprised. It went down just before it was about to begin, but it quickly picked back up again and didn't have any issues throughout the rest of the show. I think they could have probably done with a boom mic, a shotgun mic in the crowd, but that's about it. So he was joined by the Bucks. The Bucks announced that they were partnering with a Chinese wrestling promotion, which Matt Jackson said was going to be, the future of professional wrestling, because the stuff that these guys do in the ring is second to none and is unbelievable. I've never heard of them. I'm going to be looking into them now to see who they are, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what these Chinese wrestlers have to offer. We also found out before the press conference started that Billy Gunn, WWE Attitude Era legend, is coming on board with AEW as a road agent producer. He's the first person to be named as a producer for this brand. So I wish him all the luck. That's a great thing. We then had Maxwell Jacob Friedman come out. He was healing it up before he was taken out by Joey Janela. So Joey Janela came down with Penelope Ford. They announced that they were All Elite and they would be heading over to the All Elite brand. So that was a great thing to see. We then had probably one of the biggest bits of news of the evening. We announced this on Twitter that we'd heard that Pac, formerly known as Neville in the WWE, was in the Jacksonville area this afternoon. He was spotted. So we'd put out on Twitter and over at straightedgewrestling.com earlier on that he was around the Jacksonville area, and he showed up alongside Hangman Page. Hangman Page came out and was talking about the Straight Edge Wrestling Championship and said that he would be the first person to hold the belt, and he was interrupted by Neville, now known as Pac. And Pac said that, well, he would see him for that belt and he would have to go through him, as Pac was already a champion. Pac is already a champion. Hangman, he ain't shit right now. That says Pac. These two probably look like they're probably going to go at it at Double or Nothing, which would be a great match. I love them getting Pac. I think that's a brilliant get. He's on a high right now, is Pac. I mean, these two guys are just they're going to knock it out the park. And Pac has got a lot of heat behind him right now, a lot of media aura around him right now, because I mean, he can't do no wrong. He's just had his match with Zack Sabre Jr. He's got a match coming up with Will Ospreay. He's had a lot of fanfare and social media reaction over him since the day since the day he left the WWE, and it hasn't really slowed down at all. We then had another announcement from the Bucks and Cody, which was that they will be holding a second show, and that second show will be in Jacksonville, and the funds for that, proceeds from that, will be going to victims of gun violence in the Florida area, which is obviously a rife thing over there. So that's a wonderful thing, because obviously Tony Khan and the Khan family are huge investors in the Jacksonville area, owning the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now moving on and owning the All Elite brand. They're going to be looking at giving back to Jacksonville and Florida as a whole. We didn't actually see the Khans on screen. There were some pictures lurking around of them wearing the All Elite gear, but we didn't actually see the Khans, which I was quite surprised at. I thought, which I mean, that's quite good. It's good. It means that they're running the business from afar, but yeah, I was quite surprised. I thought you would actually get to see something of them. There was a very heavy Jacksonville Jaguars presence. Obviously, they were at the home stadium of the Jags, so there was lots of Jaguars colours, floating around in people's gear. When SoCal came out, they announced a new T-shirt. They showed their new T-shirt, which had the Jacksonville colours. They had the Jags cheerleaders come out behind them a couple of times as well. But we then, and we don't. Oh, also I forget. We have Brandy Rhodes came out. Brandy Rhodes came out. She announced the women's division. Announced Britt Baker as the first woman being signed by the All Elite Wrestling brand, and she said that the women are going to be paid exactly the same as men. There's no sliding scale at All Elite. Everyone is equal, but they're all going to be paid the same, which is just a wonderful thing. It's a great thing that we're getting a wrestling company which believes in equality, isn't going to sideline women's wrestling as the WWE did for many years up until very recently. AEW, as Conrad said, AEW is picking right up on this women's revolution, and they are going to run with it. And I can't wait for that. But then we had maybe the biggest announcement of the evening. I wouldn't say it was a surprise. This person's name has been linked with AEW since day one, since the Sports Skeeter post right the way back in the middle of last year, which hinted at AEW becoming a thing, or we didn't know it was called AEW at the time, but a professional wrestling promotion with the Jacksonville Jags. Chris Jericho made his appearance on the AEW stage. He interrupted Conrad Thompson when they were just pretending to close the show. He came down to his own music, announcing that he was All Elite, that he has signed to the brand. We don't know what capacity he's in. one would assume he's going to be in more than just a performance role, because he's been a huge part of the behind the scenes, say a lot of the reports. So only time will tell. But Jericho is all elite, and that's probably the biggest get that they can get for now, right up until Kenny Omega. Obviously, we don't know what Kenny's doing at the moment, but we assume that he will be heading to All Elite Wrestling very shortly once his contract is up. We also assume that Jim Ross will probably be heading over there soon once his contract is up, because he's currently signed to WWE, to a alleged deal with WWE, because he'd been providing them with certain amounts of commentary and what have you and specials. So once that's all done, we're going to assume that he's probably going to be heading over there too, because the reports are saying that Jericho and Jim Ross are major players behind the scenes with AEW. But only time will tell. So that was the All Elite Wrestling podcast presser. It was a great little event. Little kinks here and there, but a really fun event, and I really implore you to head on over to straightedgewrestling.com. The link will be in the description to go and watch that. Double or Nothing's coming your way May 25th. We'll have all of the breaking news and updates about All Elite Wrestling for you as and when they come. But that is all for us, and we'll see you next time with another Straight Edge Wrestling podcast. Head on over to SEW_podcast on Twitter. That's at SEW_podcast on Twitter. Head on over to straightedgewrestling.com. We're out.